one man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in HEX on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call HEX, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
What's up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Crypto podcast. My name is Boi Crypto, and I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host, Crypto Ewok. We have a fantastic show for you this evening. If you are just making your way in, do us a favor. Pound the like button. We appreciate it. We do this show every single Tuesday night now, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. of A. We have a lot to get to tonight. Tonight, actually, specifically, we've got a whale that we need to talk about. Alex the whale that made a couple of moves here.
Couple splashes.
Yeah, made a couple of splashes in the water there. Actually, it was Sunday evening, actually. We saw a huge dip in the PulseChain ecosystem. We'll kind of get to that price here in a moment, see where we're at there. We have CPI data that came out today, lower than expected. ETH gas fees have been out of control the last few days. A lot of stuff to get to tonight. So, hey, we want to hear from you guys. Hit us up with your comments in the chat, questions, whatever you want to hit us with. Go ahead and do it. We will we'll take a look at what you got to say, and we'll get into it tonight. Before we get into the markets and everything, Ewok, how you feeling about everything?
I'm feeling good. Trying to stay away from all the drama. And I feel the better you do that, the better off you are. You know, it's that time of season. You know, we're, like I said, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and that's all we can do. Make our way through it and keep buying as we can.
That's pretty much it right now. Yeah, there's definitely I guess overall it's kind of a boring time, but hey, we did just have, so how soon we all forget. I heard somebody say this the other day. We just had this like not massive, but a pretty good run up in the ecosystem a couple of weeks ago. And now we're having like the kind of pullback that you would expect to get after that does happen. So attributed to Alex the Whale, if that is his real name, or whoever you want, but it is what it is. Welcome in Drew Humberto from Colombia tonight. We've got Johnny Chaos in the chat. Drew, I think I already said. DJ and Moonboy, welcome in, everybody. Smash a like on your way in. We very much appreciate it. Let's take a look real quick at BTC and ETH today. I guess there was a minor dip that people are freaking out over on crypto Twitter. We've got Bitcoin back below 36K now, but hey, we're still in a good range for Bitcoin, up over 35,000. So we've had some bullish action over the last few weeks for sure. ETH dropped below 2,000. It's at 1985 right now, but still it's performed well over the last few months too. Actually turning and looking at our ecosystem. So again, we did have the rally up over quad zeros and a 7 for PulseChain just the other day. And it was, we were thinking, hey, maybe we'll turn that 7 number into support because, that was kind of a breaking point for it to get through. And we were above it for a few days. But, the whale, Alex, is among others, obviously selling over the last few days. He started off with HEX on Sunday, and now the ecosystem's come down a bit. Today's been a little bit of a red day. Good day for buying for sure, which I've been trying to do. But yeah, we're sitting right now at 4 zeros and a 6.5 for Pulse. Pulse X about 80% down from sack rate. HEX on a PulseChain is at 1.2 cents, and EHEX as it has been about 50% off of that at 0.7 of a penny. So we're going to get into the specific topic of the Alex the Whale stuff. So don't worry about that. We're going to approach it from a lot of angles. Should we be platforming these people? Should we be interviewing them? How much should we really care about their actions? We're going to talk about all of that from a lot of different angles, but purely just looking at the price stuff, regardless of what individual is doing any of the buying or selling, Ewok. What do you make of the charts right now? And this pullback, because I was getting a little optimistic that maybe we flip that 4 zeros and a 7 for Pulse, which is kind of how I track the ecosystem price wise. I know some people look at HEX. I think either one is probably the good anchor to kind of look at. But what do you make of where we are right now in this pullback? And I think we're both very confident that the lows have been in for this ecosystem, but as we're about 2x up off of them. But what do you think about where we are right now?
Well, yeah, it's exactly what I had just said. 2 steps forward, like from here to here, 1 step back.
You're not sharing your screen, by the way. I just noticed.
I thought I was. Sorry.
I think you were earlier. There you
go.
There we go. Yep.
So yeah, it's here's your 2 steps forward. Here's your 1 step back. It's going to bounce around. We're going to, find another local bottom here and hopefully have another little run up. I think that 0.7 is a healthy little target here because, we've got a lot of resistance that came into play here on the rise up. We did break through it, but it couldn't hold. So, the more times we test it, the weaker it gets. You just need some good action. You need obviously know what makes the charts go up, right? It's more people buying than selling. And until you get some of these traders washed out on a big candle, a massive buy that just sends it up, and they get left behind and they have to buy for fear of missing out, then they're gonna play around in these choppy areas. So that's just a matter of shaking them out and working through it. It's a very boring time of the market. You see some nice little rises and then you get the pullback and you're like, oh, here we go again. It's very, it's like a constant mood swing.
It is. And you can see it right there on the chart. I mean, like the week that we had that crazy run up there, I mean, it's so funny how those massive run ups all happen in such a short period of time. And you're just kind of, holding on for dear life. And, the green candles take you up. And then we're having a natural pullback here now. Yep. So, yeah, it's like I said at the beginning, it's so quick that we forget like the run up that we just had. And the chart looks really nice right now. I mean, like what you just displayed looks really good.
Yeah, it's healthy. Very healthy.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we have a couple of stair steps there, so hoping that continues. If you want, we can take a look at PulseX real quick here as well. Sure. It has been holding up relative to PulseChain really well, honestly. I mean, clearly it's way down from sack rate. We all know that. It's been butchered here over the last 6 months. However, I mean, it's really held that ratio of oscillating between like at the lowest, like 2.5 to 1 Pulse to PulseX to 4 to 1, but in between there, but about 3 to 1 basically. So yeah, I mean, it's basically held its own against Pulse here recently. So what do you see with the PulseX chart?
Yeah. He says it right here. He's like you see the cup and handle that's forming, and right. And that formation has traditionally been pretty bullish. So here's your cup, here's your handle, and from there, hopefully we see some nice upside. It just, again, all it takes is one of these to get a major buy, because we know again that it's all tied by liquidity. When one takes a run, they're all going to move. So the combination of just more buying overall than selling doesn't take much. It's just, it's that time where you got to, like I said, wash them out. That's all it is.
Yeah. And it's just good that we're at another level here. I mean, we're going to continue to monitor it, but it's one of those things where you can really relax yourself. Obviously we always hear when in doubt, zoom out, but really though, if you do look at the weekly schedule, you can calm yourself down a lot. And really, if you're looking at, I was saying to you off air, putting every red cent that you have into this market right now, I mean, as long as we're under sack rate for pretty much any of this, well, there's only 2 that would be under sack rate, but as long as we're under those rates, right, it's like an auto buy right now. As far as I'm concerned,
you're getting a steal. Yeah. You're getting a deal better than what people got when they sacrificed, 2 years ago. So you got to take advantage of it if you want to increase your position, help your average buy-in price, and I mean, it'll all work out much better in the end.
Yeah, definitely. And I hope that what we just saw the last couple of weeks, I mean, that was just kind of a prelude to the things that are to come over the next year or two in the bull market. I mean, with how quickly everything just moved up, and you can see how quickly you can get caught offside. I mean, like if you wanted to catch that pulse at like almost 0.3 of a, well, that whatever, 70% off sack rate, that's likely never coming back again. I mean, it's possible, I guess, but I don't think that's coming back again. So, you know, you could sit on your hands during this time when the red dips happen, or you could buy and feel better later, you know?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So, so that's where we are with the prices. We're going to get into more of that. We're going to hit on a couple pieces of news that I think were pretty relevant here over the last week. One of which was pretty funny. I think end of the week last week, we had SEC chair Gary Gensler says that FTX crypto exchange could be rebooted under new leadership. And then he said, quote, in the same interview, think about how many actors in this space are not complying right now with international sanctions and money laundering laws and are using crypto for nefarious or bad actions. He said that without naming any companies or any individuals, of course. So, yeah, what do you think about his continued, friendship here, I guess, with the entity of FTX, even if Sam Bankman-Fried is, fondling soap in the shower for the rest of his days? What do you think about, well, I don't know the point of that statement even. I don't know if he was trying to say something positive, meaning that like, well, hey, there's still a chance for this exchange or whatever. I don't know. But it's just funny to me that he's even really commenting on FTX really to that level.
Yeah, he's got no business commenting on any of the FTX stuff. I mean, he's one of the people that allowed it to happen in the first place. The backdoor meetings, the unapproved meetings that, when these guys meet with the SEC, they're supposed to be on the calendar and approved by the whole sanctioning committee. He did a lot of this stuff backdoor, behind closed doors, without approval and things like that when he was originally meeting with Sam. So I'm not sure what they've got going on, but when you have to wonder when they bring up, the nefarious activities and things like that. When Warren said about how much money was used for illegal purposes for nefarious, whatever it was, she was off by 99%. So it was really only 1% of what she really said was going on. And, they still use cash. They still use cash for all their for all their illegal dealings. It's not crypto because crypto has a trace, right? There's a blockchain.
Yeah.
So it's easily provable that they're just completely wrong on their facts and figures. But when they speak, they hear the general public hears them. And it kind of freaks them out. So I think they want to find a way in somehow to create an exchange where they can be the bank. And, as for a reboot, I just hope people don't fall for it again. I really do. I mean, it may be another way for them to introduce a CBDC. You think about that too. To where people can actually use it. Now, what they'll allow you to buy with that stuff, who knows? It could be very interesting, but they're going to roll it out at some point. We all know that it's coming, and we just hope that there is absolutely no adoption for it. But when they provide stimuluses and things like that, using it, because I think that's how they're going to do it this time, is going to say, well, hey, here's another stimulus check because the economy is such shit right now because of what we've done to it. Here's a little help, but it's going to be in the form of a CBDC. And, this is what you can do or where you can use it or whatever it may be. It's just another take on how they're going to implement it. And one of the steps, to get people into the digital kind of markets. We'll see.
Well, you're right. I mean, one thing we have no shortage of in this country are, complete fucking losers. So if there is time to, print more money and hand it out to you very easily with the CBDC, every man and woman will be waiting with bated breath to accept that and spend it on, made to order food or something like that. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously Gary Gensler has, deep affection for FTX and the people behind it, and has been in cahoots with them all along. So yeah, I guess we'll just see how they do it. And I'm with you. I mean, this is a topic that we've kind of talked about continuously, just a thread really. But that idea of like, will people fall for this shit again in the coming bull cycle? Now, FTX is already like I mean, that one is so publicized that like using that specific exchange, I mean, yeah, I'm sure somebody's going to do it, but on a large scale, I don't know that there's a way that, you know, FTX, Celsius, some of the bigger names like that, Three Arrows, can come back with a new name. But the new products like that are, this is their first cycle or whatever, with similar type of behaviors to try to reel people in, I do think people are going to fall for them again. And it's just, you know, I mean, there are so many people out there, we talk about it all the time, that do not understand true crypto. I talk about one of my friends who, it was months and months ago that I talked to him, but we talked a little bit about crypto, and he was just saying that he had some ETH left over from the bull market that is just staked on Coinbase. So people clearly don't really know how to use this stuff. And just like legacy finance, contrary to what Gensler says, I mean, they're going to get scammed within crypto as well, even though it isn't really crypto. So, yeah, what do you make of that? I mean, are we going to get retail people into this market, in the bull market, that actually do their due diligence and don't make the kind of mistakes, or are we just doomed for this to repeat itself, you know, till the end of time?
Doesn't history repeat itself until it doesn't?
Pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, I think you're going to get the degens that fumble in and do whatever when the green candles are coming. You know, maintaining people is probably one of the hardest things to do through the bear market. You know, you saw your first real bear market, and you know, it's hard, right? I mean, mentally, emotionally, everything, it's difficult. So I understand why it washes so many people out, but it does need that correction. The more we can educate people, the more we can show them the products to be in, at least to maintain and make more of it while it's going down, you know, the better we can be. It's just a pure educational thing right now. I just hope they can find the PulseChain ecosystem, and they will stumble their way into HEX eventually. You know, the walls will come down at some point. It's just a matter of, I don't know how long it'll take. You know, a couple cycles though, you know, these scam narratives kind of start to go away. You know, you make two good cycles.
HEX, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of, well, in HEX and Richard Hart overall, you know, I'm already seeing some of that come down. I think we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but you know, it's starting, but it just it takes time. And honestly, sometimes it does take people to lose their money to get serious. Unfortunately, you know, once they've got a little skin in the game, and they see that everything's negative, they either get out or they educate themselves to make a new start, and to be a little bit smarter about their investments. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. It is unfortunate. We talked about that last week, but yeah, sometimes people just have to get smacked in the face to learn a lesson. And unfortunately, when that happens, a lot of people don't learn the lesson. They just exit, you know, rather than doubling down at the bottom. That's just kind of the curve, you know, it comes down here, they stop, and then it comes back up here, they come back in, it comes back down, and that's just, you know, the cycle. So another huge piece of news last week that speaking of scams, $9 trillion asset manager BlackRock registers Ethereum trust in Delaware. BlackRock officially files for then the spot Ethereum ETF with the NASDAQ. Everyone's celebrating, not realizing that they'll probably just, you know, dump ETH on their heads later on. What is it with these people, okay, that are allegedly interested in crypto, that are celebrating the Bitcoin ETFs, now celebrating the ETH ETFs? I mean, all over crypto Twitter last week, you saw like, oh my God, ETH ETF, send it, you know. Do they not understand? I mean, like, yeah, maybe send it for like a little bit. And then, you know, huge players that you will never be able to compete with will just absolutely bitch slap you on the way back down. Let alone the fact that, again, this isn't crypto. It's just more bastardized versions of it and an ETF for grandma and grandpa to buy. So what I will say, and I want you to talk about your piece on that, Ewok, but I am curious, though, what maybe this does for altcoins in the meantime. I mean, I don't know if it's one of those things where they're usually going to follow Bitcoin and ETH, you know, and are usually going to lag behind them in a bull market, you know, then lag after them, have higher highs after Bitcoin and Ethereum start to go down. But I wonder, I mean, could this suppress the whole market, these ETFs and them eventually dumping? But because this is ETH, I mean, which is kind of like the final boss of altcoins. I mean, like they're really gonna ETH is really gonna pull up the altcoins. Could that make this an even more bullish cycle? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different angles to that, but what do you make of this story overall anyway?
Yeah, I think it could. I think as we always say, the rising tide lifts all the ships. The one thing I think it will do is once it does rise and people, will ultimately the big players will take profits. I think there will be enough capital coming in to kind of maintain it, and we may not see as harsh of a dip uh, in the next bear market. Hopefully,
Mhm.
I think there will be as time goes on, things get stronger, they get heavier, they get harder to move, um, and you're not going to see those 95% pullbacks. Bitcoin, the very first year, it did a 90% pullback. Then the next one, it did an 85. Now it's doing 80. So each cycle, it definitely does less of a pullback. Well,
Right.
I think that holds true for the rest of the markets too. The stronger they get, the heavier they get, as well as being correlated together. It definitely helps things, maintain a lot less harsh of a pullback. But that's just my opinion. I think they become a little stronger, but it will be still manipulated, and that's the thing you really have to be careful of. How hard will it run? Because a lot of those major investors aren't looking for a 10,000x. They're happy when they invest a couple $1 billion and they get a 3 or 4x. For them, that's sufficient, and they'll sell. That's all they're really looking for. So.
Yeah, that's really the thing to look out for is like maybe not necessarily the tokens that you're personally invested in, but the overall stature of the market. Like when are these big players going to get out? That's the
Yeah.
thing that we have to be alert about as we get deep into 2024. And I wanted to I think it was Murder Yoga 10p said, I think this bull run is going to exceed all our expectations. It's one of those things where like what is the expectation? Because I mean, the most people do believe, and we're going to get into expectations again with the PulseChain ecosystem tonight. That's what our poll actually is about as well. But everybody, I mean, like the majority thinks the BTC is destined for definitely six figures, if not 120K, maybe 140K. So the crowd thinks 100 to 140K for BTC. It would make sense to me. I mean, we saw about a 3x the last time. I guess you would think maybe we get a 2x this time, but we are seeing, some of the widest adoption, even though it's again bastardized adoption with these funds. But all these major players coming into the market. I don't know. I don't know what to think. I'm kind of sick of the business of like trying to project something. It's to the credit of Mr. Chinks in the chat a minute ago. This is what I've been saying for a long time too. There's nothing wrong with keeping expectations low. That way, if we do get faces melted off, it'll be epic. Otherwise, expect it. Yeah, that's why. I mean, like maybe throw out. I mean, know what you want to invest in, but don't worry so much about price targets and worry about like how much can I get into the market right now. I want to get in as much as possible, and I agree wholeheartedly. I would much rather have lower expectations,
Right.
but it's a win-win. I mean, like if I because I'm being more aggressive now, I'm doing everything I can right now to get into the market. I'm not just sitting here with that stupid ass lottery ticket mentality, thinking that I'm going to get a 10,000x on everything I invest in.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's why it's kind of good to have, was one of the topics that we're going to talk about is you've got Sami saying one thing and you got the Westcott guys saying another thing. It's kind of good to have both, right? I mean, maybe Sami doesn't want to overshoot. Maybe he doesn't want to say what he really thinks, but he wants to be safe, right? And maybe Westcott doesn't care. He's 10,000x for everything. Well, Richard designed all of this stuff very similarly with different with very similar tokenomics type game theory anyway. We know what Ethereum did. We know what's possible. PulseChain is just a clone of Ethereum. So why not? It did a 14,000x in the first 5 years or so.
Yeah.
Why isn't that possible with PulseChain? I don't see why it's not. It's very similar. Fees are lower. When we talked about it earlier, how the gas prices have got out of control there for a little bit. That's what it's going to take to get people over there and maybe get the Ethereum devs working on a solution. I think it kind of all circles back around, and there's complete possibility where it could do a 10,000x, which would be freaking fantastic. Might not do it the first cycle, but by the second, I don't see why it can't. It was designed very similarly. So, it's good to have both options. It's good to have both opinions coming at you so that, somebody's going to be right. But, some people don't want to undershoot because then the people that they onboard say like, well, why didn't you tell me it could really do this? Well, I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to expect it, right? And then you get the guys that shoot low, that then the people are upset because you underestimated, and so you got to find somewhere in the middle, right? It's going to be somewhere in the middle. Take all these averages, and that's probably going to fall right in the middle of all those somewhere on this cycle. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're losing either way if you're really holding somebody else accountable for like their prediction
well, that too.
at the end of the market, I think, regardless of what direction it is. We're getting a lot of really good comments because I just saw another one I wanted to get to when you were going on there. Shit. Oh man. I think I missed it. But something you said, Ewok. So ETH did a 14,000x over like the first 5 years or so. So add that up. That's also that's another thing we need to differentiate here, and something that I don't think a lot of people are being clear on. Are you talking about this cycle? I don't mean you, Ewok. I just mean people when they're talking about like these X's predictions or whatever. Are you talking about like the next year to 2 years, or are you talking about ever? If you're saying, oh, yeah, PulseChain is going to do a 10,000x. Well, I mean, if you're waiting to wait like a decade maybe for that or something, then maybe it could happen. I mean, define what we're also talking about here. Because if it's multiple cycles, yeah, I do agree. Especially with even like PulseX, I think it's generous to give it multiple cycles to really see what it can do. And we all plan on being in this for multiple cycles, obviously. So I think that's an important thing to qualify too. Like, what's the time frame here? Are we talking about a year from now, or are we talking about like ever?
Right.
So,
and that's the one thing that they don't state. What is the time frame? Yes, it can do a 10,000x. Of course it can, but how long? Right.
Yeah, exactly. So good conversation. We will continue that with that more specifically with PulseChain here in a little bit. You just mentioned it, Ewok. So the ETH gas fees have gotten already out of control. We're not even really in a crazy bull market yet, although we are in a new cycle, it looks like. But ETH gas fees spiked up huge. Thursday of last week is when it began, the 9th. They were up well over 100 most of the day, and I've seen that again a couple of days, actually. But specifically last Thursday, though, it was like everybody FOMO'd in. We got like a big pump. The market hit new 2-year highs. That was when Bitcoin wicked up to just over 38K in a couple of spots. So we pulled back from there. ETH went over 2K. Again, everybody kind of FOMO'd into the market, I think, at that time. And that led Richard Hart to tweet that day about Pulse being 10,000 times cheaper all day, which was true. And does beg the question again, like you just alluded to, can and will Ethereum ever fix their fees? How far can they really fix them? And will this marketing will the marketing from Richard to come to PulseChain work this cycle? Because I think it will, because I think like his reach is becoming far greater. And as we're going to mention, maybe it'll be a natural transition here, but as we're going to mention, for whatever reason, some of the mainstream content creators and stuff like that for crypto are more supportive of and, more apt to talk about a layer one being PulseChain than HEX for whatever reason. So first off, what do you make of what's going on with the market? ETH just, crazy gas fees right now. Will they do anything to fix it? And then that advertising for PulseChain as a result of this.
I don't know. I would like to think so. The one thing that's good right now, because they did switch to the proof of stake method, where they are paying the validators and not the miners, right? So I think the miners before had a lot to say about the updates that happened, about the improvements. They didn't want it, man. They were making all kind of money running their miners, and they didn't really want the improvements. They didn't want proof of stake either, really, and that's why they kind of forked off and ended up somewhere over in the ditch. But I think I'd like to think it will. Again, I think it's going to take PulseChain adoption for them to wake up and be like, hey, everyone's leaving. They can do it over there for 10,000 times cheaper. And I would like to think that they can throw out some improvements that can definitely help. Now, I think, what was it? The sharding update is one of the ones that they said would improve the gas.
I think I just sharded right now, actually.
Well, don't shard
I'm
yourself.
I'm gonna have to, yeah.
So, but yeah, and I think that's one of them. I don't know how hard it is. Again, I'm not a coder, so I don't know the difficulty of it. But there's got to be some things that they can do to mitigate some of these crazy fees. You're looking at a couple $100 for a swap. You were looking at $1,000 to end a stake. You were, and this was last cycle. And I don't think they want a repeat of that. I think they want to keep it, somewhat affordable at least. And I think they will. I think they'll try to fix it. Hopefully it happens this cycle. Usually bear markets are a good time for that. So we know they really haven't done many updates in this bear cycle. Once the proof of stake went live, haven't seen a whole lot more. Again, I don't know what they're pushing out. I haven't seen anything, but I haven't heard of any crazy updates. So yeah, I hope they get it fixed. I really do. But it could be good for our ecosystem. Again, I don't know that we really want to push too many fixes because, right now, if we can find a nice on-ramp for people because they are spending so much and be like, look, hey guys, over here, it's a lot cheaper. It's the same damn thing. You probably already have coins that you may not even know about. Get over here, kind of thing. I think it'll be good for adoption. So, while it could be bad for us with some longer stakes that may be ending at that point, could be good for the other ecosystem. So you've got to balance it out. Which do you want more? And frankly, we've got the same stakes on PulseChain too. So I'm fine. I'm fine with things getting out of whack for a little while.
Right.
In order to benefit our ecosystem on this side.
Yeah, I am with you there. Yeah, I saw in the chat and I saw Crypto Coffee say this the other day. He actually said, I think he spent $610 on an end stake on ETH the other day. PulseChain Gangster said he spent 45 on one the other day. I mean, obviously that's going to have to do with the length of the stake. And if I'm sure Coffee's was like a day one, stake
probably.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are traditionally going to be more expensive, but yeah, I mean, that's clearly untenable. I mean, that's not something that you want now for coffee. That may not be so bad, but Jesus, I mean, like for a fee to be that much to end a, 3-4 year contract. I mean, that is
1,000 days, probably
insane.
at least. I have a couple that, I made in the early days that are probably about due, within a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
Not looking forward to it, because they're over 1,000 days and every day. So the reason they get so high is because it's performing that calculation. Every day that you staked, it has to know, well, how much did you earn that day times how many T-shares did you have? And it's got to actually figure all of that out. So it is a pretty intensive calculation and you definitely pay for it. You just hope it wasn't a 500 hex stake, you know what I mean? Right. And they were too low where it's not even profitable. That being said, if that does happen to you guys, and you want to mitigate the situation, what I would do is, rather than end the stake and lose money, take the amount that it would cost you and potentially just buy more. You'll make out better by just purchasing more at these prices than you would spending it to end a stake and lose money. So it's just something to think about. If you have the money, some people, if it's $500, not everybody has $500 laying around. If you have a early stake from day 1 or 2, you should have $500 laying around. But
yeah, you would think so.
For some of the people that just got in and threw just 100 hex, 200 hex, 1,000, whatever it may be, you probably need at least 10,000 hex at that point for it to be profitable, I would say, roughly. I mean, it's just a guess, but
yeah,
it's a thought anyway. It's, take the fee that you would have spent by unstaking and just buy more hex.
It's a great point. Yeah, I saw Toby Wan bring that up the other day. I think that's a really good point because, just assess the market at the time. And if it's like, well, dude, I could buy more than this on the market right now than ending this stake, why waste gas fees? If you could just do that. I mean, if you have to pay that anyway. Now, the other thing that you could do, and it depends on like kind of your life circumstance or whatever, is maybe just set an alarm for Saturday into Sunday at like 3 a.m. your time or something like that. And maybe just check what gas fees are like at that time. But yeah, it is tough, but I think that's a great suggestion, Ewok, and not something that everybody thinks about. So
historically, that's about the time. Saturday night. At least Eastern time, 2 or 3 in the morning, you usually would get the best rates of the week. And you have 14 days to end it. So you've got, usually at least 1 weekend, if not 2, within that time before it does start to bleed. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, definitely a good option for sure. If you guys are enjoying the stream so far, do us a favor and smash the like button. We do this every single Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a very active chat tonight, so shout out to you guys. We got Mr. Chinks in there, Armando, PulseChain Gangster, Murder Yoga, 10P, lots of others. So thank you guys for being in the chat tonight.
Can we get this question real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Richard asks thoughts on Hedron this cycle. I think it's going to do great. I think Alex is coming up with a new protocol where there'll be a V2 of the Hedron stuff. Some cool stuff, some cool features. I forget what they all are right now, but I know you'll be able to take both of your Hedrons and bid on the HSIs, no matter what chain it's on. You can use the ETH ones on the PulseChain and PulseChain on the ETH. So there's some cool stuff coming on top of the staking that already exists. I think it's going to be strong. I think now don't forget, there's a lot of big whales that are minting more Hedron every day. Could suppress the price a little bit, but with the staking, it has definitely helped that. And as the price of Hex goes up, it also brings Hedron up. Same with Maxi, same with some of your other, tokens like that. But yeah, I think it'll do quite well as well. So I just wanted to answer him.
I think so too. And while I know you and I really haven't been, buying any of that on the open market or anything, just minting it with our Hex stakes, basically, that's really been the practice. And yeah, that's another thing too, that, it is kind of liquidity bonded to where these things are going to go. So I think you are too, Ewok, with my Hedron and Icosa. I'm just basically continuing to yield on my full stack. It just rolling whatever term it is you have. So I forget all of the terms, but I think it goes as low as 30 days, depending on how much you have, up to, is 120 the max? I'm trying to remember what the max is.
I don't know if that's the max or not. I don't know what the max is actually, but just don't forget to mint it, at least if you end your stake. Same with the communist token, communists. It's there. There's a whole other thing that we haven't even talked about. We probably will have to.
Yeah, I still didn't put it in the notes this week. Forgot to do it again this week.
One of these days, we're going to have to go through Johnny Sachs's whole special weapon thing that he's been calling it. I don't even really want to get into it because I don't know. I'm
too dumb on it. Yeah, I haven't watched enough. I watched like one stream with him and Axis and stuff like that, but I still have to learn more about it myself. So
but either way, don't forget to mint it at least. If you're not providing liquidity in one of the groups, it has to do with the liquidity for that token that supposedly will help Hex along the way. Again, I haven't dug into it. I shouldn't really even speak of it, but it is out there. There's material out there. Look into it, see what you think.
Definitely. Yeah, that's communist, spelled like it sounds, basically. Not communist, but communist. So check that out. A lot of streams out there with Johnny Sachs lately as well. I'm going to throw you a curveball, Ewok, because I didn't mention this to you earlier today when I was putting the notes together for the show. But real quick, I wanted to address it because this is the second time that I've seen Richard Hart on Twitter say this and endorse this person, but he pretty vehemently was behind Vivek Ramaswamy today on Twitter for the second time. Vivek, if anybody didn't or missed the Republican debate, even though I think we all know who the candidate's going to be here in the U.S. When it comes to the 2024 election for the Republicans. But Vivek had a lot of mic drop moments. Basically, it was one of those debates where if you watch a liberal or any kind of like rhino or like old school Republican who had something to say about it, that Vivek embarrassed himself. He was desperate. And then anybody that's just like neutral and watching it was like, okay, he clearly crushed everybody else on the stage. But anyway, Richard, though, encouraging others to endorse him in the US, I can certainly see why he's a fan of him. I mean, like you and I were just talking about him the other day after that debate with some of the things that he said. A lot of awesome moments. Called Nikki Haley Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels, which was pretty funny. He brought up her daughter being like addicted to TikTok, and then she flipped out about, oh, keep my daughter's name out of your mouth. She's 25 years old, right? Apparently, it's not like it was a little kid. But yeah, he's been dropping truth bombs for a while. I know there's people out there that, and I get this, and this is why I was a skeptic for a little while as well about Ramaswamy, but there's been people out there like, oh, if somebody comes along and they're saying all the right things and they're this suave, because it's kind of the Barack Obama effect a little bit because he's such a good speaker, smart young guy, to be wary of that. But he's got me at this point. I mean, at this point, like I've seen enough from him that I think his intentions are good. I'll be voting, in the presidential election for who the Republican nominee is, basically, regardless, I think, at this point. Obviously, it's going to be Donald Trump. But, yeah, what do you make of Richard's backing of Vivek, though? I mean, I like where he's coming from. Totally sees why, why Richard is so into him. And, I think as we get to, like, 2028, probably, if unless Vivek is even, like, Trump's running mate, maybe. When this is all said and done, which I think would be really fascinating. I'm basically in favor of any outsider who isn't a classic politician for either party taking over the party. I'm basically a fan of that. So, what do you make of this? What do you make about Richard's endorsement of Vivek, though?
I like it. And I think that one of the big reasons is dude's not 78 years old. You know what I mean? I really think you've got to make some changes at some point. We've got to get rid of the old politician ways of thinking if we want to get this country back in shape and make it better. I know Richard believes in a lot of the things. I think they've actually had some discussion on Twitter. I've seen tagging of each other back and forth, and Vivek actually responded to a couple things. So pretty cool to see that. He's just a younger way of thinking, and I think again, we've got to see a little bit of that to definitely help turn things around. I support it too. Like I think I agree with what you said too. Whoever the Republican nomination is probably which way I'll vote. But unless we get a far better. Well, I'm not even going to go there because I don't think it's possible. But yeah,
a better Democratic candidate. I don't think that. Maybe a different one. I don't know about. Well, I don't know. It depends on your definition of better.
To be better, right? I think it would definitely have to be way different to be better.
We're definitely getting demonetized tonight.
Well. Oh well. RFK.
Well, he's already dropped. He's not a Democrat. I mean,
he's independent, right?
Yeah, he's independent now.
So yeah, I mean, I could see his benefits as well. So there's, it's going to be interesting. I like the fact that he threw somebody out there. Unfortunately, I think he lives overseas. We don't even know where Richard lives, so it's definitely not in the United States. He can't vote anyway. Well, he may be able to, if he's still a citizen, may be able to send an absentee ballot or whatever it may be. But again, it's one of the things I kind of cringe talking politics because it can always it usually doesn't help things. You know, you're going to piss off half the people anyway. So, but yeah, I think he's got some good ideas. I like what he did, and you know, it's funny how he did use the Trump tactic a little bit of throwing some insults out there, you know.
Yeah, right.
And a lot of people like that, you know. So
Hmm.
yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's going to be
He
an
also he
interesting
definitely
one.
yeah, he definitely, like you said, offers like a young candidate for once, which is
Yeah,
good, especially in the Republican Party, which could definitely use some new blood. But also, again, I mean, it doesn't really matter who it is to me. Anybody who's not part of like the typical political establishment and not really a Democrat or
right.
Republican, I'm more apt to listen to, especially these businessmen. I mean, like it or not, I think Donald Trump set a precedent. You know, and I don't just mean like for the Republican Party or for people like him or whatever, for anybody that, you know, somebody can come in that isn't a part of this party and win, like a
Yeah,
business outsider. And
sure.
I am more apt to trust businessmen who are already unbelievably wealthy that really don't need this position to the level as a career politician. You
Yeah.
know, that you know, they're usually going to be filled with even more corruption. I mean, hey, let's face it. I mean, probably all of them are corrupt to a certain level, but I just have a tendency to believe people who are actual businessmen, businesswomen, whatever, that have made it already. You know,
Yeah, I saw a statistic too that Trump was the only president that we've had in the last I don't know 20 years or so, maybe all the way back to Reagan, that did not increase his wealth when he became president. It's kind of
mm,
interesting
yeah,
to see the you know disparity between all of them and how much their net worth went up, where his actually went down. You know,
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think, you know, we always talk about RH being in it for the glory. I mean, that's another thing too. You know, I mean, it's if somebody's already rich, I tend to trust them more because it's like, well, they're already there. Like they don't really need much more from you. Whereas like lying, cheating politicians that have been at it forever, making like low six figures and with a crazy illegal stock portfolio and stuff, have a lot more they can take from you. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Not telling you to vote who to vote for, Democrat, Republican, whatever, but you know, it's interesting though to see this from RH, and I do like Ramaswamy, so we'll see where
Yeah,
things go from
it'll
there.
be interesting.
Yeah, so let's get into the topic du jour here with this Alex the Whale, and we do know that it was him. We don't really know if his name was Alex. Who knows? Maybe that's just the pseudonym that he gave himself. But we do know that he has a wallet that has been tracked by people because, again, this is crypto, and you can see the blockchain. But yeah, Sunday evening, EHEX plummeted 25% in like 5 minutes. I mean, it was a huge red candle out of nowhere as famed whale Alex continues to dump. He actually allegedly ended up selling his entire position by the end of the night that night after pretending straight up, you know, lying if that was really him, that he had other intentions on stream with Matty Allen a few weeks ago. That was the stream where Matty was on it. His typical group, Toby One, I think, Crispy Man, and Axis were on there.
Yeah.
But it's another reason not to take these guys, these whale people, seriously or mimic what they do in either direction with in any market, really. You know, everybody's on Michael Burry today because he ended a short and he's going to put in a new. I don't give a shit what Michael Burry's doing with the S&P 500 right now, but this is what people do. I mean, they follow what whales do. A question I want to ask you, Ewok, I think we're totally going to agree on this point, but I have seen some dissent on Twitter kind of amongst people. But does Matty deserve any hate that he gets for having Alex on, do you think? We'll talk a little bit about that stream. I know we did before, but should Matty be held accountable? To his credit, I've seen him on Twitter, you know, asking the day after they had that stream, like, did you guys value this stream? Did you hate it? Whatever. What do you think? Now that we're seeing this from Alex, who said that he was, it's going to go way past 56 cents. I'm all in, blah, blah, blah. And then he's selling on a 2X. So what do you think? Does Matty deserve any hate he's getting for this?
No, he doesn't deserve any hate. You know, Maddie's making videos just like we are. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And because he's got, I don't even know how many subscribers Maddie has. He's probably over 10,000, I would guess. Um, it, with that is going to come a lot of haters. You're not going to make everybody happy. You know, it doesn't matter what he does or what he covers. There's always going to be people that are riding him. So no, I think somebody reached out to him and they said, well, hey, let's do this on stream. And he's like, oh yeah, okay, great. You know, it makes good watching. You know,
Definitely.
there's a angle though that people aren't talking about. And I was thinking about this earlier when I was reading the notes and what we're going to talk about tonight. And this is a possibility, and I'm not saying it's probability, it's a possibility. I think because we saw the dumping happen, you know, on stream. So the first question you have to ask was this guy just doing a pump and dump? Well, we don't know his true intentions. Only he really knows that. Was he planning all along to FOMO people buying in and then just make a little profit and get out? Or did the whale watching become so intense where he couldn't make a move without everybody knowing what his address was? It's one of the reasons why you you and I were talking about this the other night is when he sold off everything, he sent it to stake.com, which is a online casino gambling site where you can send just about any crypto in to your account. And then honestly, you have a lot of choices on what they send you back. So you can completely act as a mixer on anything, send it in, create a new address, send it back out, and then maybe buy in where he's not being watched. You know, that's a possibility too that I think nobody has really talked about. If they did, I haven't heard it, but you know, maybe it's just the whale watching got too intense for him because, like I said, they knew every time he did anything, and possible that he didn't like that. So, you know, there could always be that. But again, back to the whole thing, the whale splashing, whatever. There's always going to be people in every coin that own way more than you do that can do this to the price. You know, people freak out all the time about these whales. And are we back to the price it was before? I think we've almost gotten back to where it was before he dumped. Maybe not quite, but I think it's close. So,
well, not at this very moment. I mean, now we're heading back towards there again, just
okay,
because
well,
today's been a red day. But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it did recover a little bit over the last
yeah.
couple
I
of days.
mean, it recovers, and you know, honestly, it doesn't take much to get back to where it was. People put so much weight and emphasis on these whale accounts when they sell. You know, it is part of the beauty of especially HEX, where the low liquidity can make the price run like crazy, but it can also make it dip really hard. You know, it's just one of the benefits that we talk about of being a low liquidity token like that is, you know, doesn't take a whole lot of buying to get some green candles, and then as it gets higher the liquidity will definitely increase to kind of keep it up there until bear market time happens. Liquidity gets removed and then it falls again pretty hard. So, you know, it is what it is. I just think that is a possibility of, you know, him possibly not like being watched. So
Yeah,
who knows what
true.
happens when he sends it into stake.com unless there's somebody that, you know, can analyze that and see what's coming back out. But I really don't think there's a way to do that.
Yeah, I don't think I understand everybody's wanting to assume that there's something nefarious or whatever going on. Which I mean, if you want to call selling on a profit nefarious, go
Yeah.
ahead. I mean, if that's what the guy wants to do, it's what he wants to do.
Yep.
But on the Matty Allen point, yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, either way, at the very least, it's a funny interview to look back on. I mean, the guy was definitely weird while on stream, and I'll say this too. I think Axis said it, and Crispy Man might have said it too. Both of them after, I mean, they were being polite, but after the guy left, they said, it's hard for me to take anybody at face value, I'll say, when they're not doxxed. So yeah, I totally understand that. And those guys may have already been proven right about that. And Matty even was skeptical on stream, actually, because he kept saying that there were people trying to get into the stream on the back end that he didn't invite and had no idea how they got the link or anything like that. So evidently, whoever this person was, like, shared the link with other people as well.
Oh, didn't hear
Yeah,
that.
he was saying that on the stream.
Okay, I missed that part.
Yes, he was like zoned out at the beginning of the interview because he was dealing with that and seeing these guys trying to get in the stream, and he's like, "Who the hell are these people? I didn't send a link to them." So yeah, there's many shady things that did go on there, but yeah, I don't know what to make of the guy. But look, overall, what does this tell you? Let's stop giving a shit about like what a whale wallet does in any direction.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, for a couple hours on Sunday night, the price went down. Okay. Not really that big of a deal. You know, another opportunity to buy, and long term for where this thing is going to go, that really doesn't matter that much. I don't think people realize that.
And I think we're better off that he got out now, right? Instead of when it was up to, you know, say we were approaching 10 cents, 20 cents, and he dumped it. That could have been really bad for, you know, psyches of everybody when you see that, man, we got here again and now it's dumping again. Right. So yeah, let's be thankful he got out now.
And we talked about this before. You know, if you think that this is unique to PulseChain, like this ecosystem or HEX, you're totally wrong, because the only thing unique and actually good about this scenario is that we know the wallet. You know, we see the wallet. It's on chain. Everybody, the whole goddamn community is paying attention to it, and even apparently having the guy on stream, if that was the guy. So we're seeing all that. You don't see that when you're in Polygon Matic. You don't see that when you're in Solana. You don't see it when you're in these other tokens. You just get dumped on massively at some point. You have no idea who the people are. So yeah,
Johnny was shaking in his boots.
Yeah, Johnny came on that stream a little bit later, actually. That was an awesome stream. I mean, it was like 3 hours or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. It was weird. It is what it is. So I don't know what's up with that Alex guy now, but he is apparently out. So we'll wait and see what whale everybody wants to pay attention to next, and move on from there.
Yep. In 2 years, we'll be remember when that guy bought all that on stream, and you know, that's what it'll be. It'll be a funny story. So
yeah, for sure. If you guys are enjoying the stream, do us a favor and hit the like. We do this every single Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's talk about another main topic tonight. We talked about it a little bit earlier. So yeah, we'll just go to each of them because they've gone back and forth on Twitter a little bit, not fighting necessarily or anything like that, because I don't think Sami would really get in fights. But, you know, Westcott crypto types, I guess I'll say. And what I mean by that is people who are, you know, hey, 10,000x, this ecosystem's doing a 10,000x. We already saw HEX do it. Richard has said it'll do it. I'm not stopping at anything less than a 10,000x, and anything below that, you're an idiot for calling it, you know, that low. Sami, on the other hand, you know, as he has seen some of the things happen in this market, you know, the price has been suppressed for so long, all these different events that have gone on, people being pissed off about PulseX and single-sided staking and yada, 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 the HEX, EHEX debate, whatever else. But Sami types adjusting their, you know, narrative down to, well, he's just basically pulling the crowd, which we've done here tonight. And I know I purposely made the options very spread out on the PulseChain ecosystem price predictions, and we'll look at that in a minute. But he's basically saying, hey, if the consensus by most people is 100x at this point, I have to lower my targets and assume like a 30 to 50x, just because where the crowd is, I'm not going to go as high as that. Looking at what we put in the chat tonight, so for the poll, and again, I purposely made it wildly different, but so we had 30x from here, 500x from here for the PulseChain ecosystem, or a 10,000x. It's actually relatively split amongst the three, to my surprise. The majority is just a 30x right now at 40%. 33% are saying 500x, which that would be kind of in line with what a lot of people were thinking, I think, from even back when this launched, maybe. And then 27% are saying 10,000x at the moment. So I don't know what that necessarily means. But then it also begs the question, and there's so much kind of game theory to this, but I mean, if Sami is thinking, you know, 100x is what the crowd is saying, that I'm going to say 30 to 50. What if the crowd now has this short-term bias and is upset about all these things, and we don't know what's in store for the next couple of years, and they're drastically low to the downside, and we do get that 500x from here or something like that. Like we talked about earlier, psychologically, I want to plan for the worst, and I'm putting in everything that I can right now. And I know that there's no other place I'd rather be in crypto. So I know that's true for me either way. But what do you make of this, Ewok? I mean, like, just looking at, you don't have to necessarily go into Westcott or Sami specifically, but just those kind of combative views and what your stance is on it.
Yeah, you know, the one bad thing about underestimating, I was thinking about this earlier, is that people think it's reached where it's going, and they try to take profits, and it continues to go further. You know, that's the problem with you know, underestimating, is when you think you may have the top and you sell, and then it keeps running and you've got nothing left and you got to buy back in. That's one of the hard parts about underestimating. Again, I think Sami is just playing it safe. I don't think he wants to be known as one of those moon boys. Has he done it on other things? Yeah, maybe. But again, it's more of a conservative estimate. And I think he would rather undershoot than overshoot anyway. So I just think that's where he's at. But like I said, the problem with undershooting is people hit that target and think that that's it. And we know even when HEX made its run up the first time, it did between 60 and 80% pullbacks 7-8 times, maybe more. During that run up. And I think a lot of people got left behind because they thought, oh, that's it. Oh, that's it. And it just kept going. It kept, it doubled in price 13, 14 times. So, that's the problem. That's, people, instead of dollar costing out the same way they dollar costed in during a cycle, they're going to get in trouble. So just be careful.
Well, to your point right there, Ewok, yeah, like if they're shooting low and it's like, oh shit, I started a DCA out at a 30x and now look what's happening. Well, I just kind of already answered the question I was going to say, but we're not talking about like selling your whole stack at the 30x, but if you're planning on a 30x, I don't think you could be that pissed at yourself if you took out 10% at that point or something, and Let's face this too. I mean, we're just saying here right now in 2023, pointing at a random date on a calendar when maybe we hit that theoretical 30x or whatever it is. You're going to have all these different market conditions happening at the time. So it's not like you're going to be totally in the dark as to like, oh, are we still going up or are we going to go down? I mean, like there's going to be plenty of things indicating to you where we're going. I mean, you even think back to the big shifts in this overall market. If you look at our streams in January of this year, I had turned bullish, figured that the bottom was in. It was saying that pretty hardcore from the beginning of January. Ewok wasn't. So, take that as you will. But, you will see the tides turning months in advance or weeks in advance, and you're going to have some kind of an indication. So just because we're here right now, don't think like, oh, my God, I got to make sure I hit it on the day. And what if I miss it? There's going to be plenty of clues, I think, as to where the market's headed, and you can DCA out. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of having that 10,000x expectation. And if a guy like Westcott, if that's what he's talking about for the long term, possibilities for this ecosystem, okay. I mean, I don't really have any issues with that. Right. But I think most people, when they're having this discussion, are talking about this cycle. I know that's what we're referencing, and I think that's what most people are referencing, because let's face it, cycles in crypto are like a goddamn car wreck. I mean, it's it's not as if, oh man, I'm down like 10% over the last couple of years. I mean, you are going to be down 85% on whatever your portfolio is if you did not get out of the market. So that's why people are so serious about wanting to get it right.
Yeah, and Mr. Chinks brings it up too. It depends on how long term your mindset is, right? What happens now in this cycle may not matter in 10 years. Could be a very tiny blip on a very large chart. So, if you can delay gratification, then it really doesn't matter what you've withstood as far as drawbacks or pullbacks go. It's eventually going to hit that 10,000x. We all think, at least that's what it was designed to do. And that's what I would stick with.
Yeah, I'm with you. Interesting comment here from Red Bull Green Bear. You're missing the point, broke boy. It's not a 10,000x expectation. It's a promise, a fantasy, a story, and you need to understand how you can modulate that as a commentator. Get more. Okay, I think I see what he's saying here. Being sarcastic. So yeah, I mean, whatever. I mean, if people want to, I don't see the value in nobody knows what's going to happen. So I don't want to say lying to your audience. I mean, sure, I create clickbait thumbnails on purpose to get people to click that do involve numbers sometimes, but very rarely, the 10,000x variety. So I understand trying to get an audience and stuff like that. But yeah, I would much rather not have that as a realistic expectation.
Yeah. And I would be careful using the word promise. It just, it can go very badly. expectation is one thing, but promise, you're not going to ever hear Richard saying, I promise it'll do 10,000x. And he's the one that designed it. So I don't like to say I promise either.
Yeah, definitely not promise. Yeah, I got what you're saying there, man. No worries. As we're talking here, we're having another big dip in the ecosystem right now. Actually, Pulse just went down to 4 zeros into 635. So maybe we need to shut the hell up and get out of here. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe it's our fault. I don't know what's going on. But hey, these are the times to buy. I mean, like everybody's starting to whine and cry and ask for handouts and stuff like that.
What went down?
Everything. The whole thing. PulseChain just went down by about a couple percent in the last hour, basically. So, yeah. So, yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on there. There's people asking for handouts. We got, it's a red day.
I need new glasses. Anybody want to donate?
Can you not get new glasses for like I've gone on Zenny Optical before, like some of these websites. I mean, you can literally pay like $75 and get a new pair of frames. Maybe not even that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think insurance even covers one pair every 2 years, so I'm good there. I don't need anybody's donations, and I especially wouldn't hold it for the bear market either. So.
Through the bull market, yeah. That's one thing. Eye doctors, I'm gonna call them out right now. I think that they're one of the many scams out there, because the last time I wanted to get a new cheap pair of frames, they wanted me to come into their office, spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and I called them and I'm like, "Can you just give me what my last prescription was? Just give me a prescription. I'm just gonna buy some online." Well, we can't really disclose that information until you come in. I'm like, it's my prescription. Why can't you just tell me what it is? Well, I'll give it to you, but they're probably not going to honor it because it's out of date now or whatever. I'm going on zennyoptical.com. Nobody gives a fuck. Yeah, nobody's going to be like, now, when was this issued, sir? I mean, like, nobody is worrying about that. So, yeah, anyway, slight diversion there.
All good.
Let's cap off on this. So, our friends at Altcoin Daily, and I will say, of all of the mainstream crypto influencers with big channels, Altcoin Daily have been the ones that have seemed to, we talked about this last week. I think like they're more legit guys if you do catch them, publicly. A lot of these people have handlers. They're not allowed to talk about certain things. They have mentioned HEX, PulseChain a little bit before, but interestingly enough, they just put out a video the other day. They had a segment calling what is going to be the next Cardano, the next ADA, and they actually chose PulseChain of all things. Now, I don't know what they mean by next ADA. Do they mean like, a lagging performer in the bull market? I'm not sure what they mean by that, but I guess they probably mean like predominant L1 that people flock to, maybe. But yeah, they did talk about Pulse. They actually brought up Gold Key's tweet where he had like 8 different bullet points about like all these great statistics about PulseChain adoption and everything so far. Altcoin Daily speculated that it could do well on their channel. I just said use a Gold Key thing. But then, and this is the weird part to me, and this is the thing we're going to get to, and I think it's going to be a sticking point that we do see throughout the bull market with some of these influencers. But they pumped up PulseChain, but then they said specifically, unlike HEX, it doesn't come with baggage. It doesn't come with the baggage that HEX does. What does that mean? That's just what I don't understand. Like, I know they were obviously referencing Richard Hart and talked about him for a moment, but they're both products by Richard Hart. Why does PulseChain not come with the baggage of HEX? I just don't understand. Is it just because it is a layer 1 and you understand what that concept is? I don't know. I think that they just think, I think they see 38% APY with HEX and they see that like, oh, you make this great return or whatever. And they just think that that is not possible, but they do understand how an L1 works. So, hey,
that's all
okay. So I am glad they talked about it on their channel. And I think they are going to continue to do it here and there and not so much HEX. But what do you think? I mean, like in terms of them and other influencers as we get into the bull market, is that going to be the main thing? And maybe I should look at it as a positive too, because PulseChain is an L1, PulseX is a DEX, is it more likely that people will talk about those that are more mainstream as opposed to HEX, which they have just always dubbed a scam 4 years ago?
Yeah, I think so. I think here's what's happening. I saw this comment earlier and I was like, yes, that's exactly what's going on. These guys are filling up their bags slowly. once they get the amount of tokens that they want, they will start talking about it, because you're right. It is a layer one. People understand it. People have such a hard time with HEX because, there is a lot of game theory built in. There's a lot of different rules, I guess. Not really rules, but when you think about it, it's simple. It's a contract with yourself. All you got to do is honor what you say you're going to do, and you make more.
Yeah,
That's pretty much all it is. But there's a lot of preconceived notions that you have to stake it and you have to do this or whatever. Richard has a large amount. Well, he's got a large amount of PulseChain too. The OA has just as much. So, when they refer to baggage, I don't know what they're talking about, other than the meme that they did with Richard carrying all the Louis Vuitton bags right beside it, and they were referring to baggage.
yeah,
Maybe that's what it is.
yeah.
But again, I really think that these guys, and it only takes one or two of these influencers to start talking about it. The other ones, they will start to fill their bags up too, and then they will talk about it as well. And eventually they'll dump it, as just like everybody else does when they do that. But again, they will pump their bags first, or excuse me, they'll fill their bags up before they start talking about it. And I think
True.
Altcoin Daily has definitely done that. I don't remember if they were one of the sacrificers that Richard knew who it was. We all know the Moon Carl. He sacrificed what was that guy's name? I forget what his name was.
We think Ben Armstrong did, right?
Sonny Decree. Sonny Decree was another one. So we all know he sacrificed. Ben Armstrong definitely. So we know a lot of these guys did. And it's just a matter of, now that the price is down, are they going to buy more? And I think they will. Once they get it filled up, look out. They're going to talk about it. It's just another one of the things, especially when, like we said, when the ETH prices get out of control, it's going to be somewhere to point these guys to, hey, over here, guys, I have some. Why not talk about it? And that's the way you're going to see a lot of these guys, handling it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what they're going to do. They're going to buy what they need to now, and then they'll really start promoting it later on. But it does make sense to me. I mean, yeah, everybody's familiar with what L1s are. Their fans are going to know what L1s are. We look at all the failed ones from last cycle that aren't coming back, like Phantom. I know people are all over Solana right now, but I don't think it's going to be the top L1 to perform. So yeah, we know, people know what that is, and I think that they will perpetuate that and try to pump their own bag. So yeah, I'm totally cool with Altcoin. I'm in no way, and I don't think Johnny meant this, but in no way was I like saying that I don't want Altcoin Daily talking about it. I mean, that's totally fine, and I think that they are open to that stuff. It's just funny that people do still have that disparity in their opinions between what PulseChain is and like what HEX is. So,
well, just remember, the big saying is, watch what people do, not what they say.
Definitely.
And that'll get you your answer.
100%. Yeah, that's what we need to be actually watching. So, to finish up on this point, did you want to get into the Rabby wallet review at all, Ewok, or talk about anything that you do know about it? I know we have a lot of different, or a few anyway, different alternatives to MetaMask popping up here. We've had internet money, of course, that we've talked about before. Rabby wallet is another popular one now. We've talked about Aurochs before. I know Randy Hilarski has as well. But we know that we are going to need alternatives to MetaMask as like the premier Ethereum wallet here over the next cycle, 2 cycles or so, because they're slowly but surely taking, traditional crypto rights away. I mean, they're changing the way they do things. There's going to be a time where they probably have full-blown KYC with their wallet. So yeah, what do you know about Rabby so far? I've heard people reference it here and there. I haven't myself made the jump to anything else yet, but certainly not necessarily a fan of MetaMask anymore. So what can you tell us about Rabby?
I haven't either. I did download it. I looked at it. I didn't really do anything. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I know Crypto Coffee has used it. I'm pretty sure he has talked good things about it. It will connect with, all the contracts that we use, things like that. I know there's one issue with internet money. I think it's being worked on, but it had to do with a Wallet Connect update that it was having trouble actually connecting with the HEX contract. So, I don't want to point people in the direction of, getting something, move it all over, and then not being able to use it. Obviously your first layer of security would be a hardware wallet, where you're just essentially using these as a front end anyway. But in the event that MetaMask does go the route of the full KYC, which eventually they will, they've implemented that buy button. I haven't seen it yet or noticed it. I'm not really on it that much, but I haven't noticed it anyway on my side. And I don't know if you'll have to click a button to say upgrade to it, or if you can just kind of keep the old version. I think they would probably force that through. But yeah, so. I mean, as time goes on, we slowly lose the rights of the, DeFi of what it truly is. And yeah, there are other options out there. Once I can do a full install and activate a wallet and actually use it, I would feel more comfortable talking about it. I just really haven't had a chance or had the need, like you said, haven't needed it yet. But we definitely want to do that before, that they always say you should dig your well before you're thirsty.
Right.
And that way you have the water when you need it, kind of thing. So, it is on my to-do list of things to do. I have downloaded the Aurochs and used it. I have the internet money one on my phone. Used it, played around with it a little bit. I just haven't interacted with the contract because I don't like importing seed words into my phone. So that's a big no. But yeah, so that's kind of where I am at with it. But I have heard very good things about the Rabby wallet. I have also heard that there are fake links out there. So be very, very careful if you do look for it. I'm pretty sure I don't even want to say it without confirming. Is it Rabby.io?
I actually don't even know. I'll check real quick.
Well, we want to make sure, because there is I think there's a fake link that's Rabby.com out there, and somebody just had their wallet drained because it was a fake extension. So just be very, very careful. Go to the website, look it up, even Google Rabby wallet, and look at the company information before downloading it, just to verify that it is the right one.
It's definitely IO. I'm on the site right now.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, and this is one of those things, to your point right there, like with Rabby Wallet, Internet Money, Aurochs, anything else you want to try in replacing MetaMask or whatever. I don't know about you, Ewok, but in the past when I've done stuff like that, or whenever I first got a hardware wallet and did, backed up the way I did my backups on that and everything, that's like a take a day off from work type of event. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know about you, but like when I want to get all that kind of stuff set up, or maybe even if you're replacing a PC or getting an extra PC or something or whatever, just like going to some other security risk, that's something for me. It's almost like when I do my taxes or something, where like I want to take a day out and just like figure all this stuff out, switch it over, be unencumbered by other distractions or anything, and get it, sorted out. Because that is a big thing. I mean, like, people do, and they will. It's funny because you don't think as much about like security and stuff like that in the bear market, because maybe your portfolio is so low, you just don't give a shit anymore and you're not thinking about it or anything. But all of a sudden, if you do make that 30, 50, 100x or something in the bull market, you're looking at that balance and it's like, okay, am I good here? Like, is everything in order? And it's a good time to be doing that kind of stuff. So
and that's when you have to be extra careful, because the scammers will come out of the woodwork with all kind of contracts that you get to, just, it only takes one click. So just be extremely careful. And, we probably don't preach it enough about security and things like that. But there are so many things that I've just seen and learned over time, and I don't think anything of it. I get emails from MetaMask all the time, or Coinbase telling me that I should probably, something expired recent. And I just go in and I just put 12 random words like, you should go F yourself. I put 12 words in and send it to them, and tell them they're a goddamn scammer and things like that, just to mess with them, because I know it's not real. But
yeah,
a
you
lot
got
of people
scammed
don't.
there a couple of weeks ago. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is definitely a good time to do that. And, hopefully we do get more clarity on these other products, because I'm totally open to another wallet. Obviously, we talked about and heard about a potential Richard Hart wallet at some point that everybody wants to sacrifice for, of course. I say that kind of tongue-in-cheekly, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, always good to have competing products out there, because MetaMask has just become the de facto, we always talk about that first mover advantage thing and everything. Like, it is the Ethereum wallet right now. So we want competitors that are legitimate here for sure. So,
well, competitors will, that makes them stronger. So, hopefully we get something else that's, we already have something else, but hopefully they can battle to where it does kind of put MetaMask on notice to say, hey, look, there's other stuff out there. We don't need to sign KYC. We don't need to have you store our information. That's one of the good things about, internet money guys, is they don't capture any information at all. So, I don't know about Rabby. I don't know about Orox, but I know internet money, they do not. So they don't save anything. There's the best way to not get your information compromised is to not store it in the first place. So,
plus with MetaMask, I mean, you've got that creepy fox just staring at your every move.
Yeah.
You open that extension, you're moving your cursor around, getting ready to type your password in, and he's just, doing this, that is not a comforting sight, MetaMask. So let's get rid of the fox. Hashtag ban the fox. So yeah, I think that's going to wrap us up for this episode. This has been a really good one. The chat has been awesome tonight. We thank you guys. Thank you, Johnny Chaos, with your huge following, for tweeting out the show tonight and helping us out, getting some extra viewers. But the chat's been unreal the last few weeks. We really thank you guys. Mr. Chinks, Dank popping in here late, Alan, of course, Armando, NTY, a whole bunch of people in here tonight. So yeah, Ewok is representing there as well tonight. So yeah, we want to thank you guys all for being here. We do this every single Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you did not hit the like, please do so on your way out, and we'll catch you next week. This has been Boi Crypto for Crypto Ewok right here on the Creed of Crypto podcast. Take it easy, guys.